Podcast City Network.
Hey guys, we are live for another exciting episode of Final Score, episode 103, and man, we just keep it on rolling. Sadly, though, we do not have Craig tonight. Craig is, I don't know what he's doing right now, but he's okay, though, I can tell you that. So he's going to take care of his stuff, and it's all good. But we did get the one, the only, meme god Jimmie to fill in, and man, it's awesome to have you here on the show. Love the Crap Team Perfection shirt, and welcome, man. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's great to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
No problem, man. Thank you for joining us on short notice. Honestly, we were already talking about having you come on, and then Craig was going to do the show, and everything was going to be good, and we were going to have you anyways. But now you become the official co-host, you know. So hey, we're gonna have a good time on the show. So I'm really excited, man. You excited?
I am always excited when it's time for Final Score.
Oh man, he's
usually
excited.
Not nervous, you know.
Oh yeah, but it's all good, you know. We're just gonna have fun with it. Just like you can find all the fun and great things that we do on our social media at PCN Final Score on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, and Instagram. Definitely make sure to go on there and go check out all the great stuff we have. But you got to make sure to smash the like and the follow buttons. That way you can make sure that you stay on top of everything Final Score, because you know, Final Score is the best sports show in the world, because it always was. Yes, dude, I love this meme. I can't lie. Yet another one from meme god Jimmie. Tell you what, great stuff, man.
Don't act surprised. That's the lesson.
That is the lesson. Don't act surprised, because Final Score always bringing it. But man, we did have a huge surprise that we were going to hit people with going into this week that we just haven't been able to do. We were going to do last week, but no, I think it's more fitting that we are going to do it this week as part of our NFL draft preview special. And come on, man, you know what it's going to be? It's going to be none other than getting yourself a free t-shirt. So make sure that if you want to get yourself a free t-shirt, you come up in our chat as part of our trivia t-shirt giveaway. You got to answer the trivia question correctly in the chat. And the first person to answer that question correctly will win themselves a new Final Score t-shirt in the color of their choice, because we got it in dark heather gray, black, navy blue, and white. So definitely make sure to check it out. So much going on. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to throw the question up here in just a moment. But it's a lot of great stuff that we've been doing here at Final Score. So definitely make sure to go check out all the great stuff that we have. And real quick, we want to show you the t-shirt winner from last week, or from a couple of weeks ago. None other than Everett Lee of the Everett Lee Show, who is an avid Final Score watcher, got himself a free t-shirt. Look at that. Looks great on him. Man, it looks great on him. But
nice.
Yeah, it's real cool, right? Can't go wrong with that. You really can't go wrong with that. But our question for this week.
I have to pretend.
You have to pretend, sir. It's okay.
I have to pretend not to geek out.
You got to
when
pretend.
He's in the chat.
Oh, you know it.
So many podcast guys pop up in the Final Score chat, and it's like JDM, bam, seen him on the show, Everett Lee. They just drop in like it's nothing, but to a fan, you know, you're just like, what is going on?
Oh yeah, you ain't lying.
It's the Podcasters Podcast.
You ain't lying, man. It definitely is the Podcasters Podcast. But definitely the question for this week is, how many games have Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan played against each other in the NBA? This is part of an extension from last week. If you watched episode 102, talking about the fact that Michael Jordan will be presenting Kobe Bryant at the Hall of Fame ceremony. But how many games have Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan played against each other in the NBA? If you can get that answer in the chat, you're going to win yourself a free Final Score t-shirt, and we'll definitely make sure to get a hold of you after the show to get shipping information, and we'll get that sent out right to you. But we definitely got a lot to talk about. But before we can do that, you definitely got to make sure to check out all the great content platforms that we are on, including Podbean, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Bullhorn, Player FM, Spotify, CastBox, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and for our video content, YouTube. Go on to any of those platforms, search keyword PCN Final Score, all one word, and hit the like, follow, and subscribe buttons. That way you can make sure you get the latest content when it drops. So definitely make sure to check all that out. But now it's going to be time to jump into some crazy NFL action, man, because the draft is coming, man. We are literally days away, less than a week. April 29th, the NFL draft will be taking place at 8 p.m., which, I actually have a little surprise for everybody here. If you are not listening, or sorry, I got all sidetracked just now. If you haven't been listening or looking at things. So next, what is that? Thursday, this Thursday, April 29th at 8 p.m., the one, the only Chris Wilson will be on the Brew podcast to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles draft pick and who they may or may not be taking with that pick, currently the 12th pick in the draft. And it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a good time. I can't wait to join the guys over there at the Brew Party podcast. And I think it's going to be a fun time, man. I think it's going to be a really fun time. But before we can get to all of that, we still have our draft preview for tonight. Are you ready for this, bud?
Oh, yeah. Super excited.
Oh, yeah, man. I am super excited for this. It's going to be really fun. So first things first that we're going to talk about is the final score, top 5 quarterbacks that we see in this draft. And the very first one I want to go ahead and spotlight is going to be Trevor Lawrence. All of us agree pretty much that Trevor Lawrence is definitely going to be the quarterback out of this class. The thing about Trevor Lawrence is that he is a total package. He has the arm. He has the arm strength. He has the touch. He has the ability to read the defense. He has to be and do that pre and post snap and be able to go out there and really lead his team. The only question mark I have for Trevor Lawrence will be health, and it's not because of him. It's because he's going to end up with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, I mean, hey, man, thanks for coming out, but unless Urban Meyer has some kind of craziness up his sleeve, that offensive line is not going to do a whole lot for you. What do you think, Jimmy?
I think your arm probably hurts from throwing all that shade. But also,
dude.
so
so much shade.
Not only is this guy setting PFF records left and right, he's also 6'6", 220. He's like the prototype quarterback. This is the guy that everybody wants.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, only one team is going to get him, and we know exactly who it is. I don't think anybody's budging Jacksonville off that number 1 spot, and I don't think anybody's changing their mind as to who they're going to pick. It seems to be the consensus. I think somebody would have to have just a phenomenal meeting with their staff for this to change. You know, I think he already knows. He might as well be looking for real estate.
Oh, yeah, might as well at this point. So it's going to be interesting to see how it's going to work out. He already knows where he's going to go. I just want to see if Urban Meyer can do anything with him. That's really where I'm at this point. But another big thing that we're going to look at is our number 2 quarterback on this list for the final score top 5 is none other than Zach Wilson. That's right, the Disney actor who plays himself in a movie about himself, Zach Wilson of BYU. Now, this guy, for us, I know on a lot of boards, he falls behind a lot of the other quarterbacks that we have on our list, but Zach Wilson is a guy who has good arm strength. He can make good throws. He has a little bit of running ability. But the thing is, he's very tenacious, and he has there's something about him that, guys just want to follow him. And he was able to be very successful with BYU, which is not a notoriously, known or successful program outside of 1984, if I'm not mistaken. Or was it 1987? No, 84. I was right. So it's interesting to look at the maturation of this quarterback to what he is now, and what he was able to do also in his pro day with BYU, because as we know, the combine pretty much just didn't take place and everything was done based on pro days. And Zach Wilson, man, he did it all. And we assume Zach Wilson will end up be going to the New York Jets, as we've seen in some crazy memes as of recent. But it's going to be interesting if the Jets, also another dumpster fire style situation, Are they going to be able to do anything? Keep in mind, they're bringing in Salai as their new head coach. He's a defensive-minded guy. Do you think Zach Wilson could be able to come in and really do anything with a cupboard full of nothing, Jimmie?
I do think so, actually, because a lot of defensive-minded coaches, what do they also like to do? Run the football. It's always a good situation for a rookie quarterback. Guys also do that side pocket, so you get a lot of those bootleg kind of plays, the play action. We've seen it work a lot. I mean, that's if you don't have a guy like that's super athletic, can take off with the ball, that kind of thing. You still want a guy that can throw off his back foot, make those awkward kind of angle throws. This guy can get it all over the field from some pretty weird spots, kind of like a Mahomes. He doesn't have that kind of athletic ability, but he does have that kind of like weird throwing ability. So I think that could make him an asset to a team as long as they can run the football.
Oh, absolutely. And, you do make a very good point that with a defensive-minded coach, running the football will be the priority. So dink and dunk passing with a few deep plays here and there, I guess it could make a lot of sense. So I guess maybe you're right. Maybe he could find some success there. Man, Meme God Jimmie just changed my mind about Zach Wilson and his ability to do things when he actually gets to the New York Jets. Like, man. Whew, I'm feeling some kind of way right now. But also the third quarterback on our list, and I mean, if you wanna talk about shade, man, like
we talking about practice.
I don't think Justin Fields really can hang whatsoever in the NFL once he gets there. He looks like a great prospect coming out, but he comes out of Ohio State, and a lot of people are going to look at me and say, "This is madness." But realistically, I really feel like Justin Fields is going to end up being like every other quarterback that's come out of Ohio State. Dwayne Haskins, Troy Smith. What was the other one? Can't remember his name because he didn't matter that much. And, I know Ohio State fans are probably looking at me right now and saying, "I'm pissed now." But guess what?
You're killing me, Smalls.
Because realistically, he is going to be a bust in the NFL. What do you think, Jimmie?
100% agree. I mean, there's one relevant stat. Where did he go to school? If history repeats itself. Here we go. I mean, it's fine. I hope the guy has a great Hall of Fame career and goes on to break every record ever known. And all the Ohio State fans are vindicated, and this will be the exception from now on. Every year when some Ohio State quarterback comes out and people go, "Oh, this is the next." Oh, well, he's not going to do it. Well, what about Justin Fields? Justin Fields was the next Tom Brady. Whatever, right? I hope that's his career, but it's just not. It's just not. Like, they're not bad. Can you think of an Ohio State quarterback who had such a spectacularly bad career that he's memorable? They're just they're nothing. Their careers don't matter. So he'll take up a roster spot somewhere, and eventually he'll get washed out. It's not even a prediction. It's just what always happens with Ohio State quarterbacks.
Oof.
And I hope he proves me wrong.
Oof, I love it. I hope he proves me right, though, because honestly, man, screw Ohio State.
It is a lot of hype for a guy. It is a lot of hype for a guy that, I mean, there have been Ohio State guys before that came out with this hype, and where did it take him? Look to his teammates. The guys that were making him look good, draft them. That's the guys to go get. It's unreal to me that all the top 5 and top 10 lists I've read, this guy's near the top.
Every single time.
I don't know if it says a lot about the draft class, but there are stronger quarterback candidates than this guy, I feel like.
Oh, absolutely. And, maybe we just need to look at everybody and say,
"Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds."
Because they're really not looking at the fact that no Ohio State quarterback's been able to be successful. You just said that earlier. And that is absolutely true in so many ways, because we've never been able to see any of these quarterbacks be able to make it. And he's going to be just yet another bust. He's a system quarterback. He's a guy who's small. And once he gets hit one good time by a true NFL defender, that dude is toast, because they're going to light him up and just be like, "Woo!" And that's going to be the end of it, man. And it's going to be crazy, because I see him being the first guy probably out of all these quarterbacks that's also going to get injured. So, I mean, we'll see. And there's a lot of speculation of where he could go. They're saying San Francisco. Some people are saying a little bit further, possibly the Atlanta Falcons. But I don't know, man. I think no matter where he goes, he's screwed. Like, let's put it out there.
Yeah. What does he have that all these other guys don't?
Exactly.
I mean, and when you play for a team that's just kind of in by default, right? It's not as if, and they're a running team. Any of the stats this guy have is because he's surrounded by the best athletes Ohio State can buy.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, because Ohio State really sells their name more so than anything. And we've seen successful Buckeye players come out of that school. But at the end of the day, it's not been a quarterback. You get running backs all day.
Right.
Get your running backs, get you some defensive ends. I mean, you got Joey Bosa that came out, but actually really both Bosas. So, I mean, really? Let's not forget Laurinaitis. Been a lot of great players that have come out of there. So it's just not quarterback.
It's a great school.
Ooh,
right.
I don't know if I can say
they
that.
Know how to win. They know how to win games. In the college game, you don't need a guy, a Drew Brees or whatever, right? You can just have some guy that throws the ball behind the line of scrimmage all night and runs it all over teams that shouldn't even be playing you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what a lot of their schedule is. Let's face it.
Oh, yeah, let's face it, because that's so true. But one thing we're going to talk about is our next quarterback. That's Mac Jones out of Alabama. Yes, that's right. He is our number 4 on this list for the final score, top 5 quarterbacks that are available in the NFL draft. And with Mac Jones, it's very interesting. And I have a meme about Mac Jones later on that I think is why this guy's getting so much hype. Mac Jones came in, played one season after watching guys like Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa go in and really just kill it. I mean, kill it for Alabama. Now, Alabama is a type of program, thanks to Nick Saban, that is truly a powerful program that can win at will and is able to do so when they please. And you see him come in for one season, win a national championship, and that's that, one and done. But hey, we've seen other one and done quarterbacks come in. Remember Mitchell Trubisky and all the hype he got after playing one decent season at North Carolina? So at the end of the day, Mac Jones could go either way. But where Mac Jones is going to be the important part. San Francisco is apparently also really high on Mac Jones. And I could see if he landed there, they get him a couple decent weapons, hold on to some of what they have. I think Mac Jones could honestly be a very successful quarterback and maybe even be the next heralded, dare I say, Tom Brady. And it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. But what do you think about him?
I think it's crazy to hear you go from questioning the hype to potential Tom Brady in 3 sentences.
I'm good at doing that. Transitions.
Transition king indeed. So he's a system guy. I feel like that's kind of the consensus on, it's a lot of dink and dunk, surround him with great players and let him do his thing. If he can get into a system that suits that skill set, he will probably find similar success.
Mm-hmm.
If not, again, a lot of this, I feel like, and this is the story of whatever percentage of NFL quarterbacks, is you are drafted to a team that needs you.
That's true.
That doesn't necessarily mean that you can transfer what you do to their program. And if you look back at the history of the league, how many of these guys have gotten driven out by teams that just didn't have an offensive line, didn't have a running game, whatever it is? So if he goes somewhere like that expects him to chuck the ball, I mean, he has a big arm, but it's not like you can count on him to throw the ball down the field for the entire game. You got to get those high completion throws. If that's the kind of offense you're running and this guy's still sitting there, take a chance. I mean, because it seems like a lot of his lackings are coachable. Once he gets into a pro system, he might explode success-wise. Like you say, he could go either way, but I feel like if he does find a team that suits his skill set, he can kind of carry what he has already done into the league.
Well, yeah, I definitely could see that possibly happening. It just really depends upon the situation that he lands in. So it'll be very interesting to see how it goes from there. We already have someone in the chat, Douglas, saying that Justin Fields could be great for the San Francisco 49ers. Time will tell. And yeah, we'll definitely see if they end up being the team that ultimately drafts him. It's just so much with it, man. It's just so many variables with this draft and things that could happen. But another thing I look at too with Mac Jones is the guy's a winner. He's definitely different from Mitchell Trubisky in that kind of case. Mitchell Trubisky went 8-4 in his season with North Carolina, and Mac Jones lifted a national championship. However, there is one thing he said that I find interesting, and that was the system quarterback or the system aspect of it. But the system is more set up for running backs rather than quarterbacks when it comes to Alabama. And the one thing I do see is that which has shifted, I think, over the past year or two, especially when you brought in Tua Tagovailoa and saw what you could also do with Jalen Hurts. So the past couple of years are kind of a exception to this, but it was traditionally
they've got two of the top
backs.
5 wide receiver prospects this year. Alabama.
Yes, and Devonta Smith and Jalen Waddle. So
that definitely does kind of show that shift you're talking about. They have kind of moved the ball outside a little more in recent years, as evidenced by, right, you got their quarterback and 2 wide receivers respectively in the top 5 prospects this year in the draft. So,
well, it's because you got Nick Saban running around being like,
I'm a man. I'm 40.
You knew that was going to come out at some point, but but it's been crazy though to see what they do. And really, the only big receiver they had come out of Alabama before that was Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones, who also played closely to this transition. And really, you hadn't heard of real big name wide receivers coming out of Alabama before all these guys. So it's going to be interesting to see how they continue to maturate in Alabama. But when it comes to Mac Jones, no matter who he goes to, like you said, if he's available and there's a team that can make use of his skill set, I think it's definitely going to be used. And I think he ultimately might end up with the 49ers if they're that high on him. But again, we'll see how it ends up working out. Another thing, though, we have to get to is I hadn't used it yet, so I wanted to make sure I did. Is the 5th top 5 quarterback that we have on our board, and that is Trey Lance. Now, with Trey Lance, this is a whole different animal because he's a lot different from all the other 3 prospects. The other 3 prospects were entrenched quarterbacks who have been starters and played great games. Trey Lance came in, has played only 1 season truly with North Dakota State and 1 game. So there's not a whole lot on Trey Lance whatsoever. And he was a sophomore. He had COVID issues, all kinds of stuff. So a big thing you have to look at is the fact that Trey Lance just doesn't have a large sample size. But what he does have is immense, amazing tape that shows that he is just an amazing quarterback who can do it all. But on the flip side of that, he goes to North Dakota State. That's an FCS school. Who else went to an FCS school named North Dakota State and also was an amazing prospect coming out of college, ended up in the pros, and has proven not to really be everything he was cracked up to be? Go ahead, Jimmie. You know who he is. That's right. None other than Carson Wentz, baby. So it's pretty crazy when you look at it that Trey Lance could end up really being the next Carson Wentz more so than the next heralded great quarterback of our time. But that's why he falls down to 5th on this list, because some people think he's just that super diamond in the rough that could really be anything you want him to be. So, I mean, we'll see what will happen with Trey Lance and see if anything really truly goes with him. But what do you think about him?
I think he's a little high. I think the best team to pick him up would be somebody that could let him sit for a couple years and see what they actually have. Mm-hmm. Like, the guy's got all the physical talent in the world. I watched a video of him throwing a 70-yard pass at his pro day.
Right.
You know, obviously that's intriguing for a lot of teams.
Oh,
but
yeah.
It's such a win-now league. This guy doesn't have the best accuracy, which I know comes with experience, right? Once you've got the arm strength, you can get the ball where it's supposed to go a little later. Or just draft a Randy Moss type to go up there and get it for you. But I think if he has to start next season, it's not going to go well. He could prove me wrong, right? Because he has all the tools there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the best bet for a team and for his career would be if he can go somewhere that's looking to maybe Pittsburgh, where Big Ben's going to want to play out the end of his contract, and then they're going to need a quarterback. They've already got Ben, who's this big-armed guy who's not necessarily the most accurate. So they could plug him right in, theoretically, if he pans out to have all this potential that people seem to think he does. He wouldn't be in my top 5, personally.
Right. And, there's a lot of top 5s he's not in. Some have him as far down as 10, 11. So it'd be really interesting to see exactly where he does fall once we get to the point of actually having the NFL draft. So, excuse me. But the NFL draft still, again, will be this Thursday, April 29th, 8 p.m. live. So definitely make sure to check it out. They are going virtual again. So you will have to check with your local TV providers and all that good stuff. But I'm pretty sure it's going to if I'm not mistaken, ESPN, I think, is hosting the draft. So, we'll definitely see. And it's definitely going to be interesting. But we have to move up to to another story that we do have on deck. And that is, before we get to our next 5, that is, and that's Carolina Panthers are expectedly very open to moving from the number 8 spot in the NFL draft. How do you think that could affect draft boards?
It's tough to say because it looks like, to me, what they're saying is it's probably going to be day of if it happens.
Yeah.
What they seem to be saying is that this is going to be based on who they can get. If they can get somebody that they think is worth it, they're going to stay. And if not, they're going to be willing to move back. So, and Fitterer has done it, like back when he was in Seattle, this was kind of their strategy. Move back to get more picks and rebuild the team faster. So I think everybody's looking, like obviously they've had offers, but I think they're going to wait till, and that's just coming from the team when asked for comment, right? They said, well, it depends on who's going to be there.
Yeah, it depends.
It's not going to change who's there until the day of. So I think this deal, unless they get an offer they can't refuse, the deal's not going to happen until the day of the draft.
Okay, yeah, and that could very well be how that goes down. So we'll have to see. And I don't know, Carolina, though, with what their situation is right now, pretty set at quarterback. You're expecting a lot of stuff there. I feel like they could go after a guy like Pitts out of Florida, the tight end, but I guess it just depends, and we'll see. So we'll definitely get to there once we get there. But now it is time for the next Final Score top 5. That'll be top 5 wide receivers, which we have a very, I guess, not so surprising top 3, but the ones after that I think is really where things get crazy. But the first one up is Jamar Chase out of LSU. And what makes this guy so interesting is the fact that this guy is just a big-bodied receiver who can go up and get anything and look great doing it. And what's great about him is that he has great hands, great speed, great vertical, and is able to be a good route runner. The only thing I worry about him is temperament, which I think shouldn't be too much of an issue. I think if he can get himself right in the NFL, but he hasn't had too many outstanding issues. So, I mean, we'll definitely see how it works out. But what do you think about Jamar Chase?
He is an all-around beast. I mean, this is, aside from the height, which is true of any of these guys in this draft, he's exactly the guy you want. I guess the only thing I could see, an area where his productivity might dip from the college level to the pro level, is he was a big-time tackle breaker in college. Mm-hmm. A lot of those guys are, it's men amongst boys type setups a lot in the NCAA, so he might see a lot of guys that can get him to the ground by themselves, Now, obviously, once he's got a pro regiment and he's a little more used to the speed and contact of the game, that should go away. And I'm sure he'll just be trucking guys just like he used to. But that might be something to look for in, the beginning of his career, just to see. And especially, like you said, if his temperament is a problem, see if he doesn't get frustrated with these guys' abilities to get him on the ground.
Yeah, and that's going to be a big thing because getting him to the ground is going to be so difficult with a guy like this. And, we saw Justin Jefferson, who is another prototypical wide receiver like Jamar Chase, that we saw what he could do when he broke a lot of rookie records. So I think Jamar Chase could be a guy that could really wreak a lot of havoc. But another thing I think that would be interesting is that Jamar Chase realistically could end up back in Cincinnati with his former quarterback in Joe Burrow. So and don't forget, those guys went on and set records in the college football ranks, and also were able to turn around and win a national championship as well. So Jamar Chase to the Bengals. What do you think about that?
If that could happen, I mean, my wife's a Steelers fan, so I don't necessarily want to see that happen. But these guys had a level of chemistry that, I mean, it's been talked to death, but you just don't see that type of wide receiver quarterback relationship very often. When Tom Brady and Randy Moss did it, it was a historical thing. So I would love to see these guys get back together and see if they can't get that magic back.
Absolutely.
Even if it is Cincinnati.
Absolutely. I have to agree because honestly, I feel like they really could. They really, really could. And just seeing what they did in college was absolutely amazing. So I kind of want to see it happen just to kind of see what they could do if they could replicate it in the NFL. I think it could be really, really good. But our next one,
it's rare.
Oh, it's very rare. And you're very right. And the thing is, you never really see situations where a quarterback and a wide receiver are able to play together on both levels and have amazing success. This could be one of the biggest ones we ever see. But I mean, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But our next pick would end up being Devonta Smith out of Alabama. We saw what he obviously did this past season, able to catch his butt off like no tomorrow, and was able to culminate in a national championship and even a Heisman Trophy. So dude was absolutely amazing in every way, and was able to do everything he needed to do, and could be an amazing receiver. But what do we know about Devonta Smith? Not very big, and he is very fast. So if you need a burner, this is probably going to be the guy to go after. What do you think, Jimmie?
A burner with hands.
Yes, with hands.
This is the beauty of this guy. It's one thing, Darius Hayward-Bay, as a Raiders fan, comes to mind, where he's open every down and just drop. And he's open, drop, because he's got the speed to get past anybody. This guy, if he gets past you, that ball is in his hands. So, yeah, he's slight. He's going to get bumped at the line and that kind of stuff. But there's a lot of offenses that can create space for a guy like this.
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely.
Again, this guy's only 6 feet. He's not a huge guy. I mean, you could put him in the slot, get him underneath, bam, bam, he's gone. We've seen it. I mean, this is the way the NFL is going. You can take a smaller framed guy that has speed and definitely this guy's Odell Beckham level highlight reel, with that kind of speed. So I'm excited. I would love to see this guy go to the Raiders. He seems like one of those old school Raiders guy. Just get the fast guy and go.
Oh, man. Real quick, though, we just had something huge happen. Real huge. Because we now actually have a winner for our trivia question. Let's see here.
Shelby.
Yeah, Shelby DeRose in the comments. Kobe and Jordan played 8 times. That is our correct answer. Only 8 times did they play in the NBA, which is why it was so hard for me to find pictures, really, for those slideshows I did last week. Oh, so crazy. But yes, hats off to you. You are a winner. Golf clapping. But yes, congratulations. We'll definitely go with you after the show and send it straight over to you, to wherever you are. We don't even know. But congratulations. A lot of great stuff, man. Giving away stuff. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Nice.
Absolutely love it. But where were we? Oh, yes. Our next wide receiver, who is none other than Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith's teammate. Now, Jalen Waddle was in a little bit different of a situation, and honestly, probably just as good, if not better than Devonta Smith. But Jalen Waddle ended up being injured. Injury, man, can really, really kill you. So Jalen Waddle has a lot of question marks, which we saw this happen in previous drafts when we had Hollywood Brown come out. And he ended up being picked up by the Ravens. We saw what kind of career he's been able to have. So Jalen Waddle, I think, is a guy who can be able to come in as long as the injuries don't hamper him and be able to be a very, very successful wide receiver. I don't know if his speed will always be able to keep up to be a number one, but I think that guy is going to be able to have some great success. What do you think, Jimmie?
Well, he was really only significantly hurt once, right?
Yes.
It's just he didn't get a lot of snaps because he's on one of the best teams in the country and they have a ton of wide receivers.
Well, so yes and no. Because for him,
he only missed.
Well, he had a high ankle sprain.
Stretch.
Yeah, he had a high ankle sprain and a fracture.
Though, right?
Yeah, it was just because of the ankle, and it was before this offseason because he was one of their biggest receivers when he started out the season. But on the opening kickoff in their game against Tennessee, he ended up having an ankle injury that ended up being, if I was not mistaken, it was a fracture plus a high ankle sprain that ended up really just derailing him completely. So the biggest problem that they worry about is him being able to really plant on that foot and cuts, because the one thing he's really known for is his amazing route running. That dude can make defenders look stupid, very shifty. So it'll be very interesting to see if he could still do that and replicate that on the next level. Just hit my hands. Those hurt. But anyways, what do you think about it? Do you think he could be able to have that success? Do you think that the injuries are going to be too much, or do you think this dude's just going to come in and ball out regardless?
I think it'll show right away. I mean, if he can come in and look good on tape, then it's on, right? He'll be right back where he was. Because we just didn't get to see enough of him. Like, if not for that injury, he's not a guy that was plagued by plural injuries.
Yes.
It was this one. So if he can come back strong, and it'll be real easy to demonstrate that he's back just in a pro day type setup, do a couple cuts, catch a couple balls, run a little bit, do a 40-yard dash, and you're back. I can't say as far as how well he's going to heal up, but he's a kid. This is the best time in his career to get ankle problems. He's going to heal better than he would at any other point in his life. And if he does, I mean, he's going to be worth something to somebody.
Oh, absolutely.
This is a guy that can come in and play right away if he can play at all.
Absolutely.
It's all or nothing.
Absolutely. I think you have hit the nail directly on the head, but I think he's going to end up hearing touchdown called a lot as he's just running into the end zone after catching a pass from, well, I guess we'll find out who when he actually gets drafted. So, it's going to be a good one. Now, with our next receivers on this list, a lot of these are there's a lot of speculation on what happens from number 4 receiver on. And there's a lot of guys they could plug and play, but we came down to these two for final score, and that was Rashad Bateman out of Minnesota and Rondale Moore out of Purdue. Both are vastly different style receivers. Both bring a great a different kind of game to any team that they join. And I think any team that gets either of these two guys are going to be real lucky. Rashad Bateman's more of the big man, Minnesota, go up, get a ball kind of guy that Minnesota's actually been known for with their receivers over the past 10 to 15 years, believe it or not. That's right. Minnesota does play good football nowadays. And it's great to kind of see what he's able to do. The only problem I worry about him is route running's kind of lackluster, a little lazy, and his speed's a little on the smaller side, but he's more of a possession guy, but he does have decent speed. So it'll be interesting to see how he kind of works out. But Rondale Moore is literally the complete opposite. He's a small, speedy, good hands kind of guy who can make a cut like no tomorrow. So definitely two different kind of guys here in 4 and 5. But what do you think about these guys, Jimmie?
Well, I'd say with Bateman, he does have good route running when he's motivated.
Yeah, yes, actually that is true.
If he gets with a coach that holds him accountable, I think he could move way higher up than he is right now. I think there's not as much hype about this guy because he might have taken some plays off. But a lot of that is just going to be coaching. Also, millions of dollars.
No, that's true.
If you can't be motivated to not take a play off for literally millions of dollars, get out of here. He doesn't have that elite speed, but he is fast enough to play in the NFL.
Absolutely.
This is a guy that if you can keep him motivated, I honestly think he could be higher on this list. But we'll see. That just depends on where he goes. and their coaching is what it is. As far as Moore goes, he's small. Like, I know he's this tough guy. He's
like N'Keal Harry small.
He gets hit a lot. You know, he's that guy that can catch the ball over the middle, take that shot, and come down with the ball. But that's college. Let's see how it is when he's getting hit by a little bit bigger and faster guys. He could be the next, Wes Welker kind of possession guy. You need 5 yards, he can get it for you. And then occasionally he can break one. He's definitely got that ability.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see if because he didn't get hurt in college, but he did kind of have this reputation as the guy that takes a lot of shots.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see if that toughness, transcends to the next level.
That, I like the Wes Welker comparison. I think that's a great comparison for him because he's that small, just tough, gritted type of receiver that will try and fight to get you whatever you need, even if it's just 5 yards. So definitely a good one, I think, for a good comparison. But more NFL draft news as we find out the Detroit Lions are open to trading the number 7 pick in the NFL draft. There's just people wanting to trade these picks like they're nothing. Look at this going. And the 7th pick, I feel like Detroit had a great opportunity to try and get themselves some weapons that they could need. But depending upon the suitor they find, they might be able to move back. Man, Detroit moving out number 7. Do you think they're actually going to do it?
Well, unlike with Carolina, it seems like they're willing to move either way if they can get a good deal based on what I read. So this one, like with Carolina, I said it would probably happen on draft day if it happened at all. This one, I don't think Detroit is all that interested in trading. They haven't reached out to anyone at this point. This is all the reports I've seen are that teams have been getting in contact with them. And yeah, they're willing to take those calls, but nothing has happened. So it seems like they're comfortable to sit, or they could just be posturing to say they're comfortable with where they're at. There are plenty of good players in the draft when you're at 8, right? There's not going to be a board where everybody's gone by 8. But they don't seem super interested in doing the trade. I think it's going to take a deal to move them off their pick.
And considering the kind of deal they already pulled off, I guess with getting Jared Goff to come to Detroit, they're probably going to want to trade back at this point and try and regain some of that capital so they can try and put something actually around him. But it's going to be interesting. It'll be really interesting to see how that one ends up working out. But you never know. You never really truly know. And we'll definitely see how it works out. Just realized, though, that the list I put right here is no bueno. But that's okay. We're going to run with it as we go because coming up after this, our top 5 NFL offensive linemen. And as a former offensive lineman myself, I think I could head this one up pretty well because we got a couple guys that are definitely going to be going in the first round of the NFL draft that are absolutely talented offensive linemen, beginning with Penei Sewell out of Oregon, junior offensive lineman, big boy at 6'6", 330, and one of the largest offensive linemen outside of Jackson Carman, which out of Clemson, which if you even watch any Clemson football or championships or anything, you know about that dude. But either way, Sewell is a very good lineman out of Oregon, considered the best lineman, ranked in the top 5. So he will probably end up being a top 5 pick in the draft. Really big hands, moves like a cat. Dude is just absolutely amazing. Has a huge punch on pass blocking, and the dude, you can't mess with him. He's absolutely everything. You also have Christian Darrisaw out of Virginia Tech, junior offensive lineman, also a pretty big boy. He also has really good hands. I only worry about his work ethic more so than anything. You also have Rashawn Slater out of Northwestern, a senior, a lot of experience, a lot of starting experience, which is something you don't always find real great in offensive linemen. Usually they're a plug and play that you see for maybe 2 years and then they end up moving on. But this guy was a guy that was a 4-year starter at Northwestern, played great every down. They found a lot of success, really great off the ball, real quick, good on pulls. Guy can really blow a dude up. Really good. The only thing I worry about with him is a little bit of his run blocking. It's sometimes might miss a block, whiff a little bit, can go a bunch of different ways. But the next one we have is Elijah Vera Tucker out of USC. My God, a USC player. Why did they have to put a Southern Cal player here, man? Like, I got to try and say nice things. All right, come on, Chris. You can do this. Nice things. Nice things. Nice things. All right, so the guy can block really good, especially in the run. He's decent in the pass, even though USC let up a lot of sacks. Oh, that was easier to say. So we'll see how he does when he makes it to the NFL. Man, that hurt to say. I don't even know if I can do our fifth player right now. Tevin Jenkins out of Oklahoma State just needs my attention because he's a senior, and I know he's 6'6" and 320 and plays great football, but it's so hard to get it out there with his great pass blocking and his mediocre run blocking. But, you know, oh, hey, there we go. We did it. All right, cool. Top 5 offensive linemen done. Man, see? It was painless. Good and painless.
Compliment sandwich.
Compliment sandwich.
Say something nice, say something mean, say something nice.
There you
Helps
go.
it go down.
It
One thing I would look at with a lot of this, the trend we're seeing right now is a lot of the top offensive lineman prospects are taller than the quarterback prospects. If that trend continues, we're going to have a lot of Drew Brees style jump passing going on in the NFL pretty soon.
Oh, dude, you ain't lying, and that would be hilarious if we did see that on so many levels. But it's definitely going to be interesting, and a lot of them are ranging anywhere from the shortest I think I've seen is 6'4". You got them going all the way up to 6'5", 6'7", 6'8", even in some cases. Yeah, man, you're going to see a lot of what we literally will call dink and dunk football at some point.
And none of those quarterback prospects are over 6 feet tall. The top 5 lists that we just went over, those guys are all 6 feet. So I think it's going to be interesting. Somebody might have to start looking into this trend.
Oh, you just might, man.
You got to be able to see over those guys to throw the ball, or just, I guess, work on your timing routes exclusively.
Oh yeah, definitely would have to at that point. But man, these offensive linemen, man, they're just so big and powerful. It's like
It's over 9,000!
So, you know, it's it's great to see them getting bigger. But, man, are we just going to see guys getting bigger and bigger? We're just going to have to go out and start finding the gargantuans of the world. Are basketball players now going to have to start becoming football players? Like, what are we getting here?
They're going to have the athleticism to match. I mean, we've seen it with some of this big, huge offensive linemen we already have is they have a problem with guys getting up underneath them. It's a big leverage game. And unfortunately, that leverage is hard to get when you're 6'7" and your opponent is 6'2". But the more athletic guys have definitely made a name for themselves. I think that's probably why we've seen that trend. Plus, defensive linemen are getting bigger too. So it's an arms race. You need a guy that, I mean, it's not like you can plug any 6'6" guy in there. You need a big framed guy that is light on his feet and good with his hands. It's a rare combination.
Absolutely. I agree. It is a rare combination. So, I mean, we'll see what we get from them. But at this time, we got to talk about something else that's going on as part of our NFL draft special. And that is the fact that we're doing a little thing over on the Podcast City Network website over at podcastcity.net/FinalScore. You can head on over there and cast your fan vote for your top 5 of who you think the top 5 picks will be in the NFL draft. The contest closes April 29th at 6 p.m. Get your submissions in by then. If you win, you will win yourself, guess what we're giving away? A free new Final Score t-shirt. Man, we're always giving away t-shirts. So go on there. If your pick ends up being the closest and you get it, you might just win yourself a t-shirt. It's simple as that, man. So definitely go on over there. Submit your top 5. All you have to do is go to podcastcity.net/FinalScore. So definitely go ahead on over and do that now. Man, so much good stuff going on over there with Podcast City Network and all that great stuff. But you know what? You know what else is great? We're going to do Transition King right now. That's going to be the PCN shop and all the great Final Score merch that you can get there. All you have to do is go to podcastcity.net/shop and get the latest gear from Final Score and all the other wonderful shows that we have on the network. I'm not even going to read the script today. Don't even care because
Podcast City Network.
Because we got sound bits on sound bits now, so eat that one. But at this time, it is now time to talk a little bit of college football news, because we've definitely had some things that have been happening in the college football world as of late, and namely in the world of rule changes. That's right, rule changes. Because before we get to the big meaty stuff, we got to talk about the rule change, because the rule change is going to take us like a minute, while as the next thing we're going to talk about afterwards is going to take a little bit more than that. So at the end of the day, the NCAA has decided that they are changing the required 2-point conversion rule after a touchdown to start in the second overtime rather than the third overtime, in hopes to try and cap multi-overtime games that we've been seeing over the past, say, 10 to 15 years in college football. So with that, they're hoping that requiring 2-point conversions in the second overtime will be able to do that. So move it up a period and let's make it happen, right? You think it'll work out good, Jimmie?
I like this rule a lot. This is very much a non-NCAA rule change to me. It's very elegant. It addresses the problem that they're looking at specifically and in very specific situations. It's not a sweeping change that they have no idea how it's going to affect the league at large. This is just going to limit reps. And that's all they want to do. They want to get these guys off the field for their own safety. And I think this is a very elegant and precise way to do it.
Absolutely.
I say hats off. Hats off to the NCAA for finally getting it right. Don't do some crazy knee-jerk thing because you read a stat somewhere. Look at what you want to do, which is limit these guys' time on the field for their own safety. This is a very niche thing that will affect very specific situations. And it's like when overtime goes into double time. You know, It's smart. It's a specific thing. It's pretty rare, but it'll save you in the long run. I really like this.
Yeah, I really like it too. I think it's going to be really great. And I think it's going to be something that's going to help curb those overtime issues that they've been having in college football. And I think it'll bring a little bit more excitement too, because think about it. You only get one kick now in overtime. You better make sure that, you know, if you get this double overtime, that you're ready to go. So, I mean, we'll see how it works out. But moving on to our other big news, and that is the College Football Playoff Subcommittee has presented expansion ideas to as many as 16 teams. So very interesting turn of events that now we see the playoff committee actually discussing things that we have been here just literally talking about for the past, 6 months to a year, that they should be doing all together, when we've been yelling at them to just...
Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
Because we've been looking at the college football playoff and saying...
This is madness.
Because it has been madness, absolute madness, that we are sitting here talking about the playoff when it should be expanded and including more teams, because they hear the word... I swear, the playoff committee hears the word playoff, and, you know, they just...
I don't think it means what you think it means.
And that's all I can say to them at this point. Or you look at them and they're like...
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me?
Like, come on, man. And every year...
Don't talk about it. Just don't talk about it.
Yeah, and well, you know what we keep doing?
And we let him off the hook.
Every single year we let them off the hook. So at the end of the day, we got to call them out and know who they are, because...
They are who we thought they were.
That's right. They are who we thought they were. Crappy committee that is now just finally coming around to the idea that we need to expand the playoffs. If you remember our episode about the numbers in playoffs in American sports that we had some episodes ago, that we literally have an issue when it comes to FBS football and the playoff system. 4 teams, absolutely ridiculous. And I mean ridiculous. Like,
Inconceivable.
how crazy it is. And it blows my mind left and right that we can have 24 teams in FCS make playoffs, which the FCS season is playing as we speak. The FCS season playing a spring schedule, and they're still going to have a 24-team playoff, yet we're still stuck here with 4. How does that make sense, Jimmie?
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. But at least we've started to make enough noise that they have no choice but to at least entertain these other options, which is all it seems like it is at the moment. But that's a big step.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so I got this quote, right, from Mike Oresco American Athletic Conference commissioner. I think it has to happen because there's just too much dissatisfaction with the current system. And that's all we've been saying for the last, 6-8 months or whatever. We want a better product. And it's finally getting into the ears of the people that can make these changes happen. That's the beautiful part about it. It's like every time you put that hashtag on something, every time you take a picture wearing that shirt,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
it makes a little more noise, and we see that it's actually starting to pick up some steam.
You ain't lying, man. And that's the best part is that we actually see the boycott that we have for the college football playoff, hashtag down with CFP, is actually doing its part to try and help this. And now we're starting to see some changes happen. And it'll be very interesting to see how this progresses forward. I believe we were talking about a possible timeline if they were going to make changes. Was going to be, I believe we had talked about was going to be like 2025 before implementation, which is utterly ridiculous. If you come up with that, put it through as quickly as possible. If anything, you're going to make more money because we know that's what the NCAA is worried about. So if you want to make money, just expand the playoff. It's that easy.
Yeah, just look at March Madness.
Yeah, right.
It's huge every year. This year, we saw the best encapsulation of why we need to expand the football playoffs. Is that some of these teams came out of nowhere, and there's just no room for that in the current football system. It's just the same. And here's the thing: if their current system is the best and it's elite as they claim it is, we will see the same 4 to 5 teams in the Final Four every single year, just like we do now.
Mm-hmm.
Those teams that are already automatically the best because somebody said so will still win out and be there every single year. So if that's what they want, if they just want their little cadre of schools to advance every year, let's see if they can do it with a little more competition.
Absolutely.
You got to go with what works. March Madness was huge for that. To the Cinderella stories and all these narratives that you build up because there's so many teams and so many people getting a national spotlight. Why is it that these kids don't deserve that same opportunity?
Absolutely.
These prospect boards could look completely different right now if some Cinderella team that nobody saw coming had gone on a tear just from the exposure. There are plenty of kids out there that are playing their hearts out, and they just don't get that national spotlight.
Oh, you want to talk about teams over the past, say, even 10 years or so, or 20 years, the undefeated Auburns that didn't get a shot, the UCFs that didn't get a shot, the Boise States that didn't get a shot. Or, hey, last year we had Coastal Carolina that was undefeated. Come on. You're absolutely kidding me to think that there aren't teams that couldn't be able to go in there and make some noise. And I'm not saying that they're going to upend Alabama every year, but at the end of the day, these teams have a shot, and they need to have that shot because it's a travesty if they don't. You can't call this a true competition if you're trying to keep people out.
That's right. It's the gatekeeping, right? Let's get rid of that stuff. For me, I'm primarily an NFL fan, but for me, I realize that the product will be better in the NFL if the NCAA is better. More competition, more guys getting a shot is ultimately better.
Yes.
Some of these guys don't have to walk onto a team, play for a practice squad for a year, and then bust out just because they didn't get a pro day or whatever. Nobody saw them on cable. Let's get this playoffs blown up. Even their proposals at the moment. Maybe we'll do 8 teams. No. Go all the way. Let's get 16 teams in as a start.
Yeah,
and
start.
If we see that same little bubble of elite teams popping up every year, maybe you can go back to the way it was then. But I just don't see that being the case. I think if you give more teams a shot, it's going to be a more exciting product.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And even Notre Dame athletic director Jack Swarbrick, who I love so much, even said that there's upwards of 63 possibilities for change. So there's a lot on the table to look at when it comes to possible models for 6, 8, 10, 12, 16 teams, and each with their own variety of scenarios on top of it of how teams would qualify, how the games would be played, all that kind of stuff. So it's very interesting to see. But of course, like we said earlier, the CFP executive director, Bill Hancock, told everybody that nothing is imminent. However, the talks are being had. And that's the important part.
That just means we have more time to make noise. More time to get the hashtag trending, more time to, for me, make those memes. It's a meme war. But obviously, it's getting somebody's attention because we're starting to win. We're just slowly changing the tides. Getting them to consider change was outside of the realm of possibility a year ago. They weren't talking about this at all. It was just, this is what it is until the deal is up, and then it's probably what it's going to be again. Mm-hmm. But now they're hearing the fans. Like, we are the ones that make you all this money, and we're saying we don't want to pay for this. So let's go.
Right? You ain't lying.
Power to fans.
Yes, give that power to the fans. It's the only way you truly need to do it. Of the people, by the people, for the people. Man, tell you what, it's been a lot of craziness. But you know what? You can't talk craziness without
Podcast City Network.
Because our parent network, Podcast City Network, is absolutely amazing. And FinalScore is a proud member of Podcast City Network and part of their 20-plus independent podcast members across all genres of different podcasting. And you can find everything PCN on all their major social media outlets, on Facebook at facebook.com/Podcast City Network, on Twitter at Podcast City Net, on Instagram at Podcast City Net, and on YouTube by searching keyword Podcast City Network. And you can also check out their website at podcastcity.net. But we are always looking for interested podcast hosts and content creators to join the network, but understand that you may not be what you're looking for right now. And you may just need a new logo, an intro, an outro video, music for your show, live stream hosting, or just some one-on-one consulting. No matter the need, we have you covered. Just go to podcastcity.net/services and fill out the contact form for an estimate so we can help you reach your podcasting goals. Be creative, be independent, be yourself. Podcast City Network. And now we're going to go ahead and change gears into a whole nother sport entirely to talk about the Houston Rockets and their CEO, Tad Brown, who's now set to resign at the end of the season. It seems like the entire Rockets saga just can't come to an end. And first it started with all the locker room turmoil, and then James Harden being shipped out along with Russell Westbrook. And next thing you know, now you're looking at your CEO who's going to resign at the end of the season. What is going on with Houston, Jimmy?
It's just a guy saying, hey, none of my boys are here. Everybody that you get rid of the coach, you get rid of the star players. Well, what else are you going to do? I mean, the guy's had a pretty good run, 19 years. It's unbelievable.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, maybe it's just time for a fresh start. I don't personally. You've got a fresh start where you're at, right? You're the only one left. You're the only one hanging in there. So with everything that happened, it's going to be the ghost of what happened, kind of haunting the rest of his career at that place. So, with everybody else gone, yeah, just cut your ties and go.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. And given everything they've gone through, maybe it is time to move on. He's been there a long time. So, maybe it is time for that. And they really don't have a whole lot to look forward to. Rockets, one of the worst teams in the NBA right now. But, you're right. It is fresh start, technically speaking. But maybe he needs a complete one. One that really changes the scenery and gives him something fresh to look at. And I'm sure he'll probably find work somewhere, Get those CEOs with all that money. They'll be all right. You finally land on your feet, Tad Brown. You'd be okay. But at the end of the day, it just shows, though, the Rockets are in worse turmoil than everybody thought. The CEO is now stepping down, and it is turmoil. Like, Houston, we got a problem. So I don't know, man. It's looking bad. It's looking real bad in Houston these days. And a lot of the players, already expected that at any point they could be traded, that they could be dropped, that anything could happen. Even though we are past the NBA trade deadline, so no trades right now, but who knows going in the next season how things are even going to look for this team. So, but, if you're a Houston Rockets fan, while things may seem dreary right now, just know that at the end of the day, you still have a team and everybody rebounds. The Orlando Magic might not be rebounding, but hey, it's okay. We traded away Vucevic for some reason. So it is what it is.
Hey, Herschel Walker got traded too.
That's true.
Sometimes you're just setting up that dynasty.
That is true. That's something to definitely keep in mind with that. But
Khalil Mack got traded, bro. Like, if there was ever a player in NFL history that you would never, ever trade, or that if he was available in the draft, you would always pick, right? It was Khalil Mack. And he's like, nah, because we got to build us something. What you would build without him as your foundation, I don't know. But that's a whole other. I'm not the GM of the Raiders,
Oh, that is a good point. But we'll definitely see how
maybe one day.
Yeah, maybe one day. But we'll definitely see how a lot of that works out for the Rockets. But, one thing that's always working out is City Limits Tap Room and all the great stuff they have going on over there in beautiful D-Land, Florida, located at 262 North Woodland, or 2620 North Woodland Boulevard in DeLand. Definitely make sure to check out all the great specials they have. Mondays, all day $6 wing baskets and $5 pitchers of Yingling, Land Shark, and Busch Light. Tuesdays, guys night, half off all wells and drafts from 7 p.m. to close. Wednesday, all day $5 pitchers of whatever beer they choose from 2 p.m. to close, and $2 seltzers at the outside bar. Thursday is ladies night, $1 wines, wells, and drafts from 7 p.m. to close. And Friday is karaoke with Al from 7 p.m. to close. Really love Al, really great guy. Go tell him Podcast City Network said hi. And Sunday, $13 domestic buckets and $16 import and craft buckets all day long. So definitely make sure to go out to City Limits Tap Room and have a great time in beautiful D-Land, Florida. But now it is time for the one thing we know that you are absolutely amazing at, because your literal name is Meme God Jimmie, and that is Meme Madness. That's right.
The Meme Madness.
Time for the Meme Madness. Why?
This is madness.
Because it's madness. So at the end of the day, a lot of great memes that we have lined up for today. First one we're going to go off with is football fans waiting for the NFL draft to get here. And I'm not going to lie, this is pretty much how I feel. Sitting around, standing around, not knowing what to do with life. So I did say earlier, though, why I thought... What'd you say now?
Just hours and hours of coverage. Coverage. And you don't know who's going to go where. No matter how much coverage you watch, you still don't know what's going to happen until the draft day finally comes.
Oh, yeah. You ain't lying, my friend. You ain't lying. But speaking of the draft, I told you earlier about why I thought Mac Jones was so highly sought after, which I just got a sports update stating that San Francisco 49ers have narrowed down their choices to Mac Jones and Trey Lance. So Justin Fields will not be a 49er. So interesting move there. But is this why the 49ers are so high on Mac Jones? Maybe it's a body thing, looking kind of like Tom Brady in his draft photos. Maybe. Oh.
If there's anybody you want, it's that schlubby guy in the back that looks like he probably should be an assistant coach.
Right? You ain't lying. Oh.
Exhibit A
and Exhibit B. But Joe Burrow these days, he's been begging and pleading with the Bengals on getting a new line. He says, please, I need a new line. And the Bengals said, we got you, man. And Joe Burrow says, oh, thank God. And the Bengals said, a new line of clothing. Hey, yo, how sick are these uniforms? While Joe Burrow just whimpers softly. Oh, man. But that automatically brings us into our next meme, which is the Bengals' new uniforms even come with real grass stains for Joe Burrow.
They don't need to. They don't need to. He's going to see the ground a lot.
Oh, hopefully he doesn't get injured again, but who knows?
the worst division to get drafted into as a quarterback. You know what I mean? It's like, I guess Dick LeBeau's not there anymore to really torment you, but Pittsburgh's not an easy one. The Browns are really coming on. Baltimore's always got that defense. Ugh. Forget it. They might as well just incorporate green into the jersey.
You might as well at this point. My God. But our next
They
one...
can use the brown ones for mud and use the green ones for grass.
Depending if it's raining or not. Those have 2 sets of jerseys always ready. Oh my gosh. Let's just make their colors just green and brown. Why not? Oh, I'm getting off topic now. All right, but our next one is about Sam Darnold. And everyone was saying Darnold sucked because of the situation that he was dealing with. But he had 42 turnovers in 17 games at USC. Just saying, guys. Just saying. It's so bad. But you know what? You know what isn't bad? Celebrating Earth Day. And the Chicago Bears are always doing their part by recycling garbage quarterbacks.
They can't leave one laying around. It's like, if you're an environmentally conscious person and you see a piece of trash laying on the ground, definitely pre-COVID, you'd scoop over and pick it up, make sure that trash isn't just laying around. They seem to be doing that with quarterbacks all day long. Like, oh, don't let that garbage quarterback just sit there. Scoop them up.
You ain't lying. Scoop them up. Get what you want out of it. But yeah, man, it's crazy to see what they've done with quarterbacks. And they have to be eco-friendly. They're in Chicago. It's not a very eco-friendly place. So they got to do what they can there. They got to do what they can. But our next one I know is going to be near and dear to your heart because last week we couldn't go live. Sadly, we ended up having to go pre-recorded. First time we had done it in like 70 episodes, and it was weird. It wasn't what we liked. We couldn't have a chat. It was scary. Scary times, guys. But we did shout out you last week, Jimmie, both JDM and Craig in the same episode while you were working. How was that?
Oh, I loved it. Because I love being in the chat and watching the show live. It's a lot more fun, But under the circumstance, it was Monday, probably like 9 a.m. or whatever, so I've been at work at a couple hours, and I love the theme song. It's a great way to start the day, obviously. And then I'm listening going, you know what? It's not bad listening to this at work. That's what I usually do with podcasts anyway. And I get the first shout-out, JDM, throwing the Espanol in there. And then later, Craig's talking about the real-time memes. I'm going, yes. It's almost like I got to be there,
Yeah. Oh, trust me, we never forget you.
Here I am.
Yep, and we got you on, man. We got you on. But you know what?
I love it.
When you're having a rough week, though, it's always a good idea to watch stuff a little Final Score, even if we come smashing through.
That's right. We'll wreck the bad week you're trying to have. I mean, you got to close it strong. There are days, like I said, last week I didn't get a single day off. And then you get that final score and you just forget about all that stuff. You get to learn a little something and have fun. And obviously I love Emperor's New Groove.
I'm not going to lie. I do too, though. So it's all good, man. It's all good.
Underrated classic.
Absolutely, man. Definitely underrated to the max. But
and some of the best meme templates in the game, for sure.
Oh, dude, you ain't lying, man. Especially when you got Kronk on there. I love Kronk. But but at this time, though, it's time to talk again about Podcast City Network. And have you always wanted to start a podcast but didn't know how? Do you already have a podcast but don't know how to grow it? Are you trying to find ways to make your podcast profitable? You can learn how to do it here at Podcast City Network because we offer consulting services and tutorial classes to help with learning to better expand your knowledge and to grow your show. And we also give access to our network of shows to help with cross-promotion, guests, and overall reach while also becoming a part of an ever-expanding PCN community based on people helping people. And the best part is no membership fee. So what are you waiting for? Go to podcastcity.net/join now and join the fastest growing independent podcast network around, Podcast City Network.
Podcast City Network.
But with that, it is now time for the good old give or go. And we only have 2 topics this week, but I'm not going to lie, they're on very vastly different ends of the spectrum. With the first one being with the LSU Tigers are banning running back Darius Geis and firing their longtime law firm. Holy crap, Jimmy. What do you think about this?
Well, this is a little different than a lot of the cases similar to this that we've seen in the recent years, misconduct allegations, and that it's not the case with a lot of these that they came up, say, 10 years later, and it's a he said, she said. These are things that were documented at the times that they happened and were just either swept under the rug or not properly handled. It seems like there was a big systemic problem with hushing up misconduct. And I don't know. From the evidence that they have, it seems pretty strong. Like a lot of these cases are wishy-washy, like Deshaun Watson. We don't really know because a lot of this stuff that he's being accused of happened years ago. Mm-hmm. Everything, it seems like in this case that happened years ago was reported years ago. And those reports just went unheeded.
Oh, yeah.
So it just seems like a lot of people getting what's coming to them. You know, I feel bad for the kids because in an environment where this behavior is tolerated, it's going to continue. They're kids with bad judgment.
Absolutely. And
you got to remember that people only know what they're taught. You know, he's not fully grown yet, right? And he's got a lot at stake. And the wrong way to handle that is to allow his misconduct to continue. You have to stop this stuff before it becomes habitual.
Absolutely, you do. And that's the big thing about it. Because even if you look at like Geis, he was charged in 3 separate domestic violence incidences in 2020. 2 women accused him of sexual assault while he was a freshman in 2016. And then a third LSU student alleged that he had taken a partially nude photo of them without their knowledge and showed the picture to his teammates. So, you know, that just shows, I feel like, a systemic, ingrained, you know, disregard for these kinds of serious issues. What do you think about that?
And all those incidents were reported.
Mm-hmm.
Like the 2016 stuff was reported in 2016. It didn't wait until 2020 to surface, right? So somebody has known about all of these allegations all along, and it just wasn't a big deal to them. These women who were victims didn't matter enough to these people to risk losing some football games, and that's disgusting. It's disgusting.
Oh, absolutely, it is. And the reason they're also dropping the law firm is, again, more systemic issues that even involve the current board of supervisors, who are going to move to a vote of disapproval for the failure of 3 previous board members about the 2013 allegations against Les Miles, which what had an internal investigation that was done by Taylor Porter and the law firm, which is why they're being fired because of all of that. So it's, dude, this is a huge mess. And then, I think, at what point does the NCAA try and step in here? So it's this is
and there's
literal
evidence
shit show
for all this.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't just the same old he said she said type of stuff. This is all there. I mean, this stuff happened and was covered up deliberately. I mean, there's no way you can file official documents with a school, an institution like this, and nobody knows about it. It's just not the way it works. So they showed that their priorities were protecting the reputation of the school, these players, the team, and not protecting future victims of people that were exhibiting predatory behavior.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But with this, though, we're going to go ahead and change gears over to the next one. Vegas Golden Knights have become the first team to clinch a playoff berth this season in the NHL, the best playoffs that there is around. Definitely something to absolutely celebrate, because their power level right now is...
It's over 9,000!
Because now they are going to the playoffs. And what's funny is that a lot of teams are looking at each other right now saying...
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me?
So, you know, it's crazy to see Vegas already clinching, man. What are your thoughts on them clinching?
They've capped off a historic run for an expansion team. As far as I can tell, nobody has been able to do what they've done in the first 4 years. And I know, again, as a Raiders fan, I'm kind of plugged into the Vegas fandom a little bit. People in Vegas are so psyched to see the Golden Knights doing what they're doing. I've seen fan art. They recently had a fan art competition for stuff that they would display at Allegiant Stadium. Amazing outpouring of people just showing love, supporting the team. Vegas has been hungry for sports for a while, it turns out. We were worried, is there enough of a market for this or that? Well, just like anything else, if a team is successful, the fans will come. Mm-hmm. And they are psyched right now. This is huge. I mean, to not only have already clinched a playoff spot, but to have that cap off 4 straight years, for like your first 4 years as a team, nobody has ever done that. You might not ever see it again. We've seen what expansion teams look like historically. This is amazing, and so great for the city too. They've been under some pretty crazy conditions, and economically, it's been hard with COVID. A place that relies on people coming in from out of town. I'm in Orlando. I've seen what it looks like.
Oh yeah,
these people really need something to rally around, and it seems like hockey is it right now.
Oh yeah, for sure, it definitely is. Another thing I look at too with this is that when you look at the Vegas Golden Knights, they're 34-11-2, already hit 70 points, which currently leads the NHL. They've only allowed 103 goals, which leads the NHL. They have a score differential of plus 57, leads the NHL, and oh yeah, they're currently 9-1 in their last 10, and on a 9-game winning streak. Currently leading the NHL. So Vegas just finds ways to win. Now, coming on their tails, the Colorado Avalanche and the Minnesota Wild also clinched playoff berths shortly after them, all of which are out of the West, which is also interesting. The first 3 teams to clinch were all out of the Western division that we have right now. So very interesting to see that kind of turn of events as well.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's
it looks like geography, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just ramping it up. I don't. It could just be a coincidence. I don't know.
It could be.
You see a lot of maybe sparser populations where COVID wasn't as much of a risk, and these guys have had a little more relaxation than some other people. Like here in Orlando, people have been worried about it for a long time because everybody's so crammed together.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll see. We'll definitely see. But that has been our give or go, which means it's now time to talk a little bit about PodChaser. Because your daily source of podcast discovery, Apple Podcasts is no longer the only credible place to rate and review podcasts. Follow creators, browse every podcast ever, and rate and review episodes. All you have to do is go to podchaser.com, search keyword FinalScore, one word, and follow, rate, and review us. So much great stuff going on there at PodChaser. We got to meet the PodChaser guys at PodFest last year. Really wonderful people. Really great thing they have going on over there. So definitely make sure to go check it out. PodChaser.com. But sadly, that does bring us to the week ahead, which the week ahead, this Thursday, April 29th, we will be having the NFL draft at 8 p.m., which you will also find me on the Brew Party podcast, which you can find on all different podcasting outlets as well as here on Facebook. So definitely make sure to go search the Brew Party here on Facebook and go check them out, because I will be on there to discuss the Philadelphia Eagles and their number 12 pick and what they might do with it. So definitely make sure to check it out. Going to be an awesome time. Also, we're going to be having like we said, the NFL draft will be taking place April 29th, but it will be running through May 1st. But we also have a number of other sports shows on the PCN Sports lineup, including Not a Hockey Market Podcast, the JDM, the Nest Podcast, the Rip Griffin Show, Fixed Edge, and Not Your Average Podcast in the 716. Now, a number of these will also be talking about the NFL draft, including also Fixed Edge, which we will be live this Wednesday on YouTube for episode 15. Yes, we are finally making it back up. Live this Wednesday, April 28th, and we'll be live at noon on YouTube. So make sure to go on to YouTube and search Fixed Edge Investing and give them a subscribe. That way you can catch us live for our NFL draft preview show. But we also will be having episode 104 of Final Score next Sunday at 9 p.m. here live on Facebook Live, where we're going to recap the NFL draft and welcome back Craig to the show. That way we can talk about the Detroit Lions and what they did possibly wrong. Sorry. We're going to talk about the picks from the NFL draft. Sorry, the NFL draft. So definitely make sure to join us next week as we recap the NFL draft. But, man, sadly, that does bring us to the end of our show. Any final words, Jimmie?
Thanks for having me on, Craig. I think it was real weak of you to bail out rather than have the Carr versus Stafford debate live on air, but that's okay. I'll see you next week in the comments. No, I love you, and thanks for having me. Everybody have a great night and a great start to your week.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for watching, and catch us next week for episode 104. But until then, I'm Chris, and that's Jimmie, and you guys have just watched Final Score. Y'all have a great night.